Up, up, up. Welcome to Vintage Garage. Glad you're here. We have a full show today. We just got back from Brian Redmond's Jefferson 500 at Summit Point, and we need to unload the Titan MK6, check it over, clean it up, and get it ready for the next race. After that, we're going to paint the body of the Royale RP2. The Royale is perhaps the oldest Royale in existence, and we're looking forward to getting the body back in good condition. Lastly, we're going to fit a camera mount to the Lola T492. That's the car that we've entered at the Varick Vintage Festival at the end of the month, and we want to get some in-cart video for the show. So stay tuned. We got a lot to do. Glad you're here. The Vintage Garage Transporter is a 1977 Airstream A van that we modified by putting ramps and an electric winch inside. The winch makes it real easy to unload cars and has proven to be very handy. Once we get the Titan unloaded, we'll move it inside and take the body off where we can work on it. But before we do that, why don't we take a look inside the A-van and see how it's outfitted. Inside the truck, the first thing you notice is a single bed with a real mattress. Doesn't make any sense when you're on the road to be staying in some sort of camper mattress or on a air mattress or something. So we have a real mattress and a very comfortable bed. Under the ramps, there's room for a number of spare parts, our generator, our tools, file box for all our paperwork and so on. We have a 12-volt TV set. We have our parts, new part shelf and various part shelves that are along the top edge of the truck. Over here is our closet where we keep our hang-up clothes and race uniforms. There's bins under the bed for all our normal clothing. And under this ramp we have our lawn chairs and various spare parts, and also parts racks along the ceiling that contain all our parts. We also have a little refrigerator between the front seats. So while we're on the road, this is our home away from home, and it's very convenient. We can stop anytime we need if we need to rest, and also it gives us a good base of operations once we get to the races. Now that we have the body off the car, we go around and check the car over, looking for anything that might be loose or need repair for the next race. While we're at it, we take a can of WD-40 and we spray all the suspension links and anything else that we think might rust. Then we'll check the clutch fluid. See if we lost any during the race. No, it's fine. The clutch was working good. The brakes were good. But we'll just check it over. We'll check it over again before the next race. Right now, we're looking for problems so that we have time to fix them. All that looks good. That would tell me we don't really have any leaks in the brakes. We're probably in good shape for the next one. This is the fire bottle here. The car has a fire system that in the event of a fire in the car, the driver pulls a T-handle here and releases halon into both the cockpit and the engine bay. We always look to see that the gauge is still showing full. We'll reset the telltale on the tachometer. Looks like we went up to about 6,800 once at the Jefferson, which is a little higher than we usually go. When we check over the back of the car, what we're doing is we're looking for loose bolts in the suspension, oil leaks, signs of grease coming out of the U-joints where there might be a U-joint failure. We're generally wiggling things, see if there's anything loose. We put a plastic tub under the Hewland here. It always leaks a little bit from where the gear shift rod goes in. We don't really worry about it too much. The leak is so slight, it just over time makes a mess on the garage floor. It's possible we won't drive this car again until the SVRA Vintage Festival at Lime Rock Labor Day weekend. We also look over the drive donuts. We're looking for signs of cracking or anything that might indicate that they need to be replaced. We're also looking at the bolts, the mounting bolts, to see that they're tight. If the drive donut breaks, it really damages the car pretty severely. Besides damaging the half shaft, usually the half shaft twirls around, breaks off the shock mount, the lower A-arm, and generally creates quite a mess. We also look at the gauge on the oil catch tank, and it's showing empty, so that's a good sign. We're not blowing any oil out into the catch tank. Generally, things look pretty good back here. Now that we've finished our post-race checkout, the next step is to put the body back on the car, and we'll just put it away for a few months until we're ready to use it again. In order to get the back body part on, we've got to jack up the car, and we have to remove the lower rear trailing links. Yeah, we'll do the same on the other side. Okay, now we can put on the under tray. There was a bit of oil under this from a little leak in the valve cover, but we'll use some lacquer thinner to clean it off. Very early in the game, we built this tool. We just took a piece of flat bar stock and we sawed a slot in it that's 9/16 wide. and we use as a 9/16 open-end wrench. Okay, and we'll go around and do the same thing on the other side. With the body still jacked up, we'll put the underframe on next. The nose section is the next piece, and it has 3 screw fasteners that put it onto the front of the car. And the last body part is the engine cover and air scoop. Fits on and holds the whole car together. It has a Terry spring on each side that holds it down. Okay, now all the body parts are back on the car. In my mind, this is one of the prettiest Formula Fords that was ever built. This is the Titan MK6. Let's move over to the other side of the Titan and have a look at the Royale. This is the Royale RP2. The restoration of this car is almost complete. We believe this is the oldest Royale in existence. It's chassis number 4. We have the body off the car. We've sanded and prepped it, fixed all the crashes, and it's over in the paint booth. So let's head over to the paint booth and we'll start mixing some paint. We have the 3 body parts all set up on Sawhorses. Okay, now I've turned over all of the parts and washed the underside of them with lacquer thinner and put them back on the Sawhorses. And we're going to start painting the underside. But first we've got to mix the paint, and for that we're going to go over to the workbench. Before I open the cans and put on the respirator so I can't talk, we'll go a little bit over the materials of what I have on the bench here. First is I have a little bit of DuPont Chroma 1 red left over from painting the Red Lotus, and this car is going to be the same color, so I want to use up the red that I have left over before, just to save a little bit of money. This paint's really expensive. The paint for this project is we're going to use here, it's a small car, and we're going to spend about $400 on the paint. So we have a part of a quart of red, then we have a whole gallon of red, and I'll try to save about a half a pint or so at the end of the project in case we need touch-ups sometime now or in the future. The other part is the Chroma 1 single stage activator. The paint is mixed at a ratio of 3 parts paint, 1 part activator, and 1 part reducer. And we have both a mid-temp reducer and we have a low-temp reducer, and we've got plenty of each. Now, one of the other tips that I like, these little Rubbermaid containers, you can get them at the supermarket or at Walmart. They're real nice. They're 1 quart. It's just about the right amount to mix for a gun. And on the side they have a graduation scale. So you can easily do your 3:1:1 ratio by just pouring it in and reading it on this. Also, I like to shake up the paint. It mixes it real well. Rather than using a stick, you can shake it. Then the other parts are the gear for the painter. I like to have an old shirt that I put on to cover my arms, so that I don't get paint on my arms and don't have to wash them off with thinner at the end. I also wear a head sock. I learned this trick when I painted the Titan. The next day my hair was yellow and everybody came by the shop asking me if I was trying to imitate Drew Carey with yellow hair, or whether I was painting the car the previous day. So ever since then I learned you want to wear a head sock. Otherwise you get paint in your hair and it doesn't come out for a couple of weeks. And then the most important thing, of course, is the respirator, and you want to be sure that you have a tight fit. We painted 4 coats of red paint on the underside of every body part. Then we turned the body parts over so the tops are upmost, and we put 4 coats of paint on them. Now we're going to put the 5th coat of paint on the top. We then waited 15 minutes, mixed up another batch of paint, and applied the 6th coat. We continued this process until we had 9 coats of paint on the car. It's now the next morning and we've come out to the paint shop to have a look at what we did yesterday. All in all, the painting came out pretty nice. The under tray there, sitting upside down, looks a little rough on the bottom, but that's all to the good. That's never going to show and won't affect anything. But the sides and the top and the tail came out pretty good. Let's go have a look at the tail section too. This is the tail section. The back is to the left and the front is to the right. The hole in the top is where the air cleaner for the carburetor will stick out. And a little slot in the top is for the rollover bar brace. This piece came out real nice. This is the under tray. It's upside down and it came out real nice too. We're real pleased with the way that came out. And here's a shot of the nose and cockpit section from the rear. The driver sits in that hole and then goes out to the nose of the car there. Now we're going to let the paint dry for about a week, and then next week we'll paint the white trim on the car. We're going to put white number balls on it, maybe a white stripe. We've got a week to think about it. The reason we want to fit the bodywork now is because next weekend we're going to paint white trim on the car. And some of the trim involves painting white circles where the numbers would be displayed. And half the circle is on the under tray and half the circle is on the cockpit surround. So we need to fit those two pieces together while we lay out the circles. Also, we just want to stand back and admire the car and see how the paint job looks. The last part of the body on the Royale is the engine tray, which installs pretty easily. And we're just setting it on here because really there's Zeus fasteners that hold it on. But we'll have to install the Zeus fasteners to hold the body down. So right now we're just setting it on there. Well, we still have to make the windshield. We don't have a very good pattern for it, so that'll be a tough job. And also we need to recover the leather steering wheel. Both of those two jobs will be in a future episode of Vintage Garage. Rear body fits nicely. Now just imagine how that's going to look once we get it all trimmed out. This car is a 1978 Lola T492 Sports 2000. This is the car that we've entered at the Fairfax Vintage Festival at Mostport near Ontario, Canada at the end of the month. This is a video camera mount that's manufactured by Port Racing Supplies. We bought it from Pegasus Auto Racing and it was about $100 and it seems to be well made and worth the money. It has adjustments in a number of different directions which we'll go to in a second. And it also mounts rather easily to the rollover bar in any number of positions. We've mounted it here because it's easy for the driver to reach it. In this car, the driver sits on the right side of the car and can reach over to the camera mount with his left hand and start the camera or stop the camera at any point. We've also mounted it down low to give the driver's perspective, or a perspective that's at the height of the eyes of the driver. This camera mount has 3 adjustments. Other than the base, which can be slid up or down or mounted at any angle, there's one adjustment that allows the whole body to rotate. There's another adjustment that allows the body to tilt, and there's another adjustment that allows the camera body to tilt up and down. Between those 3 adjustments, you can get the camera pointed at any angle you want. Now we'll just tighten it up here. It mounts very simply with 4 bolts, sort of a clamp arrangement. We put a little friction tape under it just so that we didn't scratch the rollover bar, and also to make it so that it mounted more firmly and was less chance of slipping. Okay, now we have a nice firm camera mount. The video camera is going to mount here, and when we get to Moseport, hopefully we'll have some good in-car camera video. Well, that's it for this week at Vintage Garage. Glad you were here. We got a lot done. We got the Titan MK6 unloaded out of the transporter. We got it all cleaned up. It's ready for the next race. Our big accomplishment for the weekend was that we got the Royale RP2 painted. It came out great, and we're real pleased with the job. Lastly, we completed the small task of fitting the camera mount to the Lola T492, and it also came out pretty nice. So we had a great week. Glad you were here. Next week we have another full show. We're going to continue work on the Royale RP2. We have to lay out the white trim, mask the white trim, and then paint it. We're also going to spend some time getting the Lola T492 ready for the race at Moseport. We'll take the body off the car, and we'll go through and check out all of the suspension links and generally check over the car and make sure it's ready for the race. So please stop back. We had a great time this week. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Until then, keep the shiny side up. We'll see you in a week. If you'd like more information about any of the projects we've worked on today, please visit our website at www.vintagegarage.com. There's a link to our email address on the website. Please email us. We'd like to hear from you. Till next time, keep the shiny side up. Thanks for coming. See you next week.